tell you about this stuff. Okay, and we're recording too, so this will go up on the channel as well. Oh, for those who don't know, I have a YouTube channel where I have extra little videos I'll share, and I post all the live streams there as well. So, cool. If you're here, say hello. I know it's impromptu. I don't think a lot of people are gonna be here, but whatever. I was excited. I needed to show you guys stuff. I'm super excited. I decided to be nice to myself, and let me mute this. Decided to be nice to myself and get a new deck, because I haven't gotten one since like January. Because the money goes in better places. So, I decided to be nice and get myself something. And I got the Halloween Oracle. Perfect for our workshop. I'm so excited. Oh my god. It's beautiful. I love it. And I had to show you guys. The difference between... I think I've talked about this before with the difference between Tarot and Oracle decks. And I separate it by timing, because the way it lays out for me is major arcana are the giant moments in our lives. They can last years to months. And minor arcana is what you're going on right now, the general energy, so weeks, days, things like that. And oracle cards are what you're doing at this exact moment, which is perfect because I have my Wisdom of the Golden Path Oracle. And that one really is what you're doing right now. And it's so funny because I was interviewing this deck last night, and I was just comparing it in my mind to my Wisdom of the Golden Path Oracle, which, if you don't know that deck, it's all based around Chinese and Japanese mythology. So lots of beautiful sweeping clouds, and, you know, there's a samurai, there's a lot of concubines and geishas in there. Very beautiful, I love it. It's really, really sweet as well. It likes to see the happiness in who you are as a person. Everything will be on the bright side, and this one's like, I'm not putting up with your shit. And it makes me laugh so hard because decks, they have such their own personalities, and this one is just so snarky and does not put up with anything happy. It is a true shadow work deck when I was going through it last night. And this is actually the first one that I have bought in person. I'm not a big believer in going to the store and feeling the energy of the cards, and I'm not into that, because all my cards I got when I was in college, and I was in a tiny little town called Alamosa in Colorado, and if you don't know what that is, it's about 200 miles from Pueblo, which Pueblo is about 200 miles from Denver. So it's getting really close to the New Mexican border. A really tiny town. The JCPenney's is like in the 50s. It hasn't been updated. There's one Walmart, there's one McDonald's, there's one of everything. Their King Soopers is not King Soopers, it's City Market. Even though they have things that we don't have here in Colorado Springs, where I am now. But this is the first one, this is the first time I've actually been to a metaphysical shop. This is the first deck I've actually bought at the shop for myself. We went to the same place to get my husband a deck. We got him, it's something with owls. It's really Celtic, because he likes Celtic stuff. We're on the hunt for a Canuna statue for him right now. But it's really, really, it was really, really cool going and actually sensing the deck, because I'm like, I want something for Halloween. Something I can do all my Halloween readings for, and maybe do for the live stream to do our shadow work. So I was looking and I'm like, I've seen the Halloween Oracle before, and the only complaint I saw was there's a bunch of skulls. And it seemed like it was the exact same skull, which kind of, it kind of looks that way, but it doesn't bother me as much as it does other people. But it's gorgeous. I love it. And it makes me happy because on the front. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got little witch hats and little pumpkins and little brooms. And it's got a black cat and ghosts. If you just shine it in the light. I love it so much. So I'm going to do an unboxing video. That way you guys can see what's in it, if you guys are interested in getting a new deck anytime soon. So, inside, tiny little guide. The biggest guide that I own is Dreams of Gaia, and it's that big. It's huge. Which, this is from the same company that published Dreams of Gaia, Blue Angel. They also did the Gods and Titans and Goddesses. I can't remember the other word for the goddess one, but they did those decks. They published my Wisdom of the Golden Path Oracle, so the feel is very similar. And in the box, which is an orange box, you have your deck. And isn't that a pretty card already? It's Night Song. And so, first thing I did, opening up the box, was, first of all, no matter how old my cards are, I always keep the little plastic sleeve because I'm a perfectionist like that and I like to keep all my stuff pristine. This is another deck. There are some people who, if they go out to do readings for other people, if you do have a reading business like that, they'll allow others to shuffle the decks. This deck, my Dreams of Gaia, and my Wisdom of the Golden Path Oracle, I would not allow anybody to touch it. Main reason, I discovered with the Dreams of Gaia, just doing it on my own, it scratches really easy on the back. And I like to keep them shiny and pristine on the back. I don't like scratches. I don't like corners bending. I don't like any part of the cards to be messed up. And it drives me nuts if the cards are all bended, or if, you know, it starts to separate on the corners. It drives me absolutely insane, which that's normal wear and tear, but again, that's just me. So, I personally would not allow anybody else to shuffle these. Yeah, you can tap it if you want to, I don't care, but besides that, you're not touching. I'm a big person on that, don't touch my cards. Unless you know what you're doing. But super gorgeous. There are a lot of skulls. And first thing I did, looking at these, is getting my own intuition from it. So, Night Song, it says on the bottom, Hidden Realms. Okay. So, first thing I'm wondering is why the hell is there a cardinal in the middle of the night? I'm not sure the patterns for cardinals as birds, but they used to be my favorite bird when I was little. I like the red birds. So that's something I'd want to look up, is the patterns of cardinals and see if they're actually nocturnal. I like this version of Death, and it says on the bottom, the eternal cycle begins here, which is, this is also my first deck to actually give a meaning besides the word on the deck. Wisdom of the Golden Path doesn't do that. So I also want to look up specifically if this is a butterfly or if this is a moth. I'd assume moth because nighttime, but at the same time the colors make me think butterfly, but it's kind of mixed with a bee on here, so I'm not quite sure. So I would want to check that out. And I literally went through these and just were I was super delicate with it. This screams Victorian to me for the skeleton. It's strength, which first thing that pops into my mind is doctor. The writing in the background is all in cursive, so that's why it popped Victorian into my head. A lot of cards in this deck scream Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde to me. And you'll see why when I get to the werewolf one. But yeah, this is one of the skeletons. You'll see that skeleton up in that skull in the corner quite a bit. And on the back, for anybody that was wondering, if you didn't see it already, it's bats and pumpkins, and it's so cool. I love it. Joy, which I really love. The thing that stood out to me though, and I can't really get it close enough, but the chick that's putting her arms up in the air is really stoic in the face. So it's kind of like, yay. It's not really that joyful. She's not smiling. She's just kind of frozen, like she's sick of standing here taking pictures. which is really interesting to me. Either that or it looks like she was photoshopped on. But Black Cat, super pretty. I love it so much. And that one's for Fortune Meets Opportunity. And there's some real common themes in here, but I just went through and took a look at all of these. Like, one thing that stood out to me, they have a card here for Barmbrack, which I hope I pronounced that right. And at first, when I was going through this, because I didn't look at the book, I never look at the book first, I was like, what the hell is Barmbrack? And I wasn't sure what it was for a second. I'm like, oh, it's bread inside of a little tin. And this looks like, you know, the side of it looks like mooncakes to me, like traditional Chinese mooncakes, the design. So it's like, I need to look that up. What the hell? And one thing I did enjoy was reading through the book. It doesn't give you keywords and meanings. It gives you the history of that symbol related to Halloween and Samhain and everything around the autumnal equinox, which is awesome. I loved it so much. So when I went to Barmbrack, what's in the beginning? I passed it. It gives a little rhyme. It gave a pea, a cloth, a coin, a ring, and a stick within a loaf of speckled sweetness. Sliced up and eat it, a glimpse of my fate's completeness. So, basically, it gives a definition of what Barmbrack is, which I had heard of this before, in the Lillywin's book for Samhain, where you put a cloth, a coin, a stick, and a pea, and a ring inside of a loaf of bread. After you mix it up, to me, the recipe is kind of like pumpkin pie. You put them inside and bake it. And you make sure they're placed at different points of the bread. You slice it and you give it to people. And when they open it up and actually go to eat the bread, the little symbol that they have inside of the bread, that's their fortune for the next year. Which I thought was a really cool, fun type of divination. This would be awesome for a Halloween party. So, for example, if you get a coin, it's prosperity and luck. If it's a pea, no marriage for you that year. A ring meant marriage was certain. A stick indicated disputes and unhappiness, and finding a cloth meant bad luck and little money. So, and that's just a fortune for the year. And I thought that was really cool. Because I love old types of divination like that. I love learning the history of that. And so if you're really big into history and having a deck with some background and not just random cards, I really recommend you getting this. And because it's super fascinating. There are some things that I was like, wait a minute now. Like, for example, the witch. If you watch Once Upon a Time, she looks like Zelena, the chick that they got to play the Wicked Witch of the West. Mainly because in the actual picture she's green. So I was like, whoa, Zelena, did you pose for a tarot, for an oracle deck? That'd be cool. I kind of like you a little bit more now. Winter, I need to fix the light. It's still kind of meh. Winter really reminds me of the Five of Pentacles. But for some reason, every time I see a card like this, or it has anything to do with, you know, barren wasteland, you know, void of growth, things like that, I think of the Five of Pentacles. Mainly because, and I mention it a lot, mainly because of my Witch's Tarot, which I have with me today. Let me get the card. No! I have a reversed. No. I've also, as you get to know me and how I do my cards, damn it, it's reversed. I don't like things reversed either. True, sometimes in a reading, I'll be like, this card needs to be reversed because I'm not getting that kind of vibe. I'm actually getting the opposite vibe of this card. Ha! See what I mean? Trying to get light in here. But yeah, Five of Pentacles for the Witch's Tarot. It's a barren wasteland. So every time I see a card like that, I'm like, oh, it's barren. Oh my god. But yeah. Let me see. The skulls. Yeah, there's a bunch of different skulls. Like I said, you'll see these skulls over and over and over again, but some people don't mind. Some, like me, I don't really care. But to me personally, it's just seeing the skull in different light. And really, the shadow work part of it comes in with these skulls, because the skull of darkness is finding blind spots in your life. The skull of light is illuminating those blind spots, getting all those things out the closet. Skull of flowers, growing from the crappiness, like the really sucky part of your soul. And the skull of stars, realizing there's more to your life than what you know. Like, you're just a tiny little speck and you have unlimited potential to grow. And that's when it really started getting shadow worky for me, going through it. I'm like, that's super cool. Another thing that I like, it doesn't, there is a lot of female imagery in here, but there's some things that stand out to me as more male. Like, for example, the hand for forgiveness, just because of, you know, palm reading and my first impressions of a hand, it seemed like a very masculine type of hand, mainly because of the kirk on the thumb, but that's just me. The werewolf is a guy. Ugh, the spider. It freaked me out when I first saw it. I'm like, no, it's so real. But yeah, the werewolf for me screamed really Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde for me. And this does look more like a guy for me. But mainly because it's balancing the animal within yourself, the feral, the survival part. So when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, so don't drink all the potion and have a split personality, but really find a balance between the two. Another thing I really liked was just looking at the card for eternal love, because it's saying love is love is love, and it transcends physical death. So I'm like, automatically, this deck would be awesome for people who care about authenticity with relationships in their cards, because I know there are decks specifically for gay or homosexual. There are some for bisexual. I literally saw the gay tarot yesterday, where it's literally the Rider-Waite, only all with men. Also, for those that, you know, interracial, interreligion, things like that, I thought this was awesome. It really includes everybody, because it's like love is love is love is love. It doesn't care who you are. And it really brings to mind, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because we're all skeletons. We're all skin, walking around on bones. And this was literally the first card of the deck, Ancestors. And it's so gorgeous. And it brought to mind, and this is why I recommend don't pull out the book right away. Look at the cards on your own and journal a little bit about them. Because the first thing that came to my mind, I can't remember the country that does this. I read it the other day in an article, where when the babies die super young, they carve out a section of this tree and they put the body in there, and then they cover it and they stitch it back up, so that the babies, like their souls and their spirits, are returned to the earth. They help the village still grow, things like that, and that's their way of mourning. I thought that was very fascinating. And this really sprung that to mind, mainly because of the DNA in the tree. And the whole thing for this, it says the love and legacy of our DNA. So we are all a part of one people. We have our grandmother's eyes, our grandfather's nose, our great-great-uncle's toes, we have all that. And we span back hundreds of thousands of millions of years. No matter what our, even if we're living in 2017, almost 18, we have been along longer than 2017 years. So, it's just a matter of going back that far and really getting into it. So, I thought that was really fascinating, and the images that spring to mind going through these. I felt so at home with this deck because not only was it going more the history, but it's all about autumn, and autumn is my favorite time of year. And it brought up some concepts that I thought were very interesting from what I've read for, history and mythology, and one of the main reasons I love coming up with my own practice. So, like, for example, Hearth. Happiness in our hearts and homes. It's got a little demon above it. So, for magic, I work specifically in Hearthcraft. If you want to go with The Way of the Hearth, I can't remember who wrote the book. Wonderful book. I have a picture of it somewhere, and I will probably get the author. I work specifically with Hearth and Home. I work better with people that I know, and the more of a connection I have with you, the better my magic works. And the better I can actually, even without cards, even just, boom, I know what in the world's going on with you. One of the reasons I survived as a child, because I know my family to a T, even if I'm not around them. So this really spoke to me, because I'm like, this is my idea of a home. Maybe not the demon over the thing, but the idea is your hearth is where you put it. Your home is where you put it. And it's a place of sustenance. It's a place where I would have flowers and velvet and fleece blankets that you have to put in the washer first before, they get a little bit, before they start fraying and getting clumps of fabric all over you. It's where I would curl up, listen to some violins on the radio or some Christmas carols, and crochet or read a book. Have a cup of caramel apple spice cider, because that mess is... don't get me started on that drink. Home. I'm cooking something in the oven, like pumpkin bread or cake, or my coconut chocolate zucchini bread, and something's in the crock pot, and everything is homey and earthy. My daughter's playing by the fire, she's coloring, things like that. And it's just happy and peaceful. This card immediately sprung to mind, all of that, and I absolutely love it. Same thing with the other card, the Joy card. Everything I love about the world is in autumn. And if you're a person like me, where everything about autumn and this time of year really screams to you happiness and home, then yeah, you're gonna really love this deck. If you also like your Samhain history, of all kinds of different places, because for the underworld, because there is a card for the underworld, let me actually grab it, it mentioned the different civilizations and how they celebrate it. Well, what it means to them. Because the Greeks and the Romans, because they're pretty much the same thing, just different names, they are more for... here it is. Haha. A skull with a pomegranate. And it's got a cave and a waterfall in the background. The Greeks and the Romans believed it was a place of, sorting, where, depending on your deeds in life, you went to different levels, and you were either punished, you were either kind of man, kind of wandering, or you went to the Elysian Fields, or I can't remember what the Romans call it, but, and you were there happy, and you were in your own kind of little paradise. The Christians believe their underworld is hell, damnation, you're punished, fire, hot, rah, Satan, things like that. The Egyptians, it was a place of reflecting over your life and a little bit of judgment, because you wander through the different pits within the underworld, the different trials, and at the very end your soul is then weighed against a feather of Isis, and if it's lighter than the feather, then you pass on and you're happy and you get all your goods and your servants and your pets and everything that was mummified and brought with you. That gets passed on. If not, then your soul is consumed. I can't remember the name of the monster. It's a crocodile looking thing. Can't remember the name of it right now. But it gets consumed by that, and then you're left to wander. And you don't do anything because you're a horrible person in life. So it brings to mind all those different things of the underworld. And I love that. It also brings in a little bit of Dia de los Muertos, because it has Dia de los Muertos, Lady of the Dead. It has a card for her. It brings up the graveyard, because there is a card for the graveyard where graveyards aren't always spooky, and they aren't evil, even though majority of the world thinks that they're evil. It's actually, Victorians used to picnic in graveyards, and every year for Dia de los Muertos, people go and they celebrate at the graves of those who have passed, and they honor them and leave them a meal, and it's a family thing. People sing and play instruments on top of the graves and things like that. And graveyard dirt is not used for curses, it's for like protection and warding. So, it brings into those different types of minds, which is awesome. And I will say also, if you're in a different hemisphere, because we have a couple wonderful people in Australia, that the creator of this deck, Stacey DeMarco, is in Australia as well. So she brings up in her guide that when everybody else around her would be celebrating Halloween with the rest of the world, she'd be celebrating Beltane, because Southern Hemisphere is completely opposite of us in the Northern Hemisphere. So she does bring in those concepts in here, like with the Skull of Flowers. It brings that into there, where it's still growth, even if on the other side of the world it's autumn. There's still growth in autumn, but for where she is, it's spring. So you can still have a balance between the two, which I thought was awesome. So thank you for coming to my little impromptu rant. This will go on the channel too. I probably won't send this out to the newsletter. If you're a part of the newsletter and you got your free gift for the guide, I usually send out replays. This one, I don't know if I will. I might. It might be a surprise. Who knows? But I will still have a live stream on Friday. We're going to go over shadow work, and this is going to be awesome because I will use my Halloween Oracle. It will be following me around quite a bit so it can get my energy and mesh me up. And I did an interview with it, and it was hilarious, and it was awesome. So, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. Yes, it's Wednesday. So I hope you have an awesome rest of your Wednesday, and remember, just because the workshop is not here yet, and it's not until November 3rd, sign up for the list, otherwise you won't get your freebie afterwards. And for how it works, I know a couple of people were wondering about how specifically it works for the workshop, and I'm going to update links so you guys have updated things. Right now, the course, my Start Reading Tarot Intuitively course is 9 weeks so far. It's going to get bigger. And you don't have to complete everything within those 9 weeks. You get it for life. And it will always be there. The workshop, this shadow work workshop, the next one I'm going to do, and the series I'm going to do after that, yes, there's more things coming, they will all be uploaded to the course. So if you become a member of the course, you have my 100% backup, and for questions and everything, if you need to go deeper, we can set up a coaching call, things like that. But all the workshops, and even if you don't actually attend the workshop live and get the PDF, they are available if you are a part of the course. You get the PDFs and you get the workshops. And you get everything. So, that's a part of that. But for those who just want to do the workshop, You need to be here in the group when it happens. It will be on replay all weekend, and then I'll take it off. The weekend of the 3rd, it will be up. Then it goes bye-bye. And then, if you are a part of the mailing list, you get the PDF. You will not get the PDF unless you are part of the list, and you need to sign up for the list beforehand. Because, like, 15-20 minutes beforehand, I'm going to take down all the signups. So, you need to be a part of the list beforehand. Okay? After that, the replay will be up. And those who sign up for the list afterwards will get a link with both their free PDF, which I'll have all kinds of awesome goodies in it. I'm putting a spread in there. I'm putting some more info about the scary cards of Tarot, which we are going to go over, and is a part of my Start Reading Tarot Intuitively course. And you get links to a couple extra videos on YouTube that I'm sending out to that list. So, you're going to get all that, and plus a little bit more. We'll see if I tweak some more in the PDF, and you're going to get a link to the recording of the live stream that you can use for forever. I'm not changing it. I'm not going to take the video down and then the link never works. If it does change, you'll get an email with the new link. So sign up for the list. Sign up for it. You won't regret it. So, that's just to give a little clarification. I know some people were wondering about it and what exactly is going on and how it works. So, and also some other questions that came up for the course. Even as it changes and goes on, like for example, if it moves over to a different website, because right now it's on Thinkific and it's on Etsy, if it moves over, you'll still come along with it. I will bring you with it. Even if I open up a group specifically for the course, even if I have one giant membership site for you guys at one point, you're coming with me. Like, I'm not going to leave you behind. So, don't worry. Everything, you will have it for lifetime after you do the one price. So, that's all for today. Thank you so much for looking at the